Jaxson, if you don't mind sharing, can you just walk us through just the moment that you realized that you were going to start today's game?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I felt like that was going to be the case for the start of once the season ended last year. So I think I felt like I earned it, and it's kind of just what I expected.
Can you just talk about your connection with Trey Harris? Did you see a game like this coming? I mean, you did work with him all throughout the offseason, so.
Yeah, we spent a lot of extra time together. He came out to California with me to work with my quarterback coaches, and then obviously just extra work around the facilities here. It's kind of funny last night because he's my hotel roommate, and we had some conversations because he's never played for an SEC school, so he's kind of asking like what to expect, and it was just fun because we were able to we kind of like manifested it. We felt like we were going to have a great game together. We felt like we had a great connection leading up to the game, and just kind of how the game plan played out. We knew that he was going to get a lot of touches, and he made the most of it.
In your eyes, kind of assess your day and just the whole first half of the offense. To me, did it kind of go how y'all felt it would, or was there still some things you see out there y'all left on the table?
Yeah, I just felt like we were really prepared for this game. I thought our coaches did a great job of getting us. They had a great game plan for us, and we had 2 weeks to prepare for it with the mock game last week, and the mock game went great as well. So I think just like our confidence of being able to execute what was being called, and then obviously just being out there and staying disciplined with one another, getting the right calls, getting the right splits, right routes, all that stuff, and just thought we did a really good job of executing and played with a lot of confidence.
There's been a lot of talk about your growth through camp, throughout the offseason and everything like that. Did you feel different today than maybe you did at the end of the year last year, more comfortable, back in a game setting?
Yeah, I think you could say that. I just, like I said before, I just felt like I was really prepared coming into this week, and I'm in a good place mentally, with myself, and I feel like as a team we're in a really good spot as well, and I think that we're honestly in a better spot than we were last year. So, just really looking forward to the future.
Obviously, in the parts that we saw, you took the lion's share of the starting reps, and you started today. But does it frustrate you at all, or that Lane doesn't publicly say you're the starter? Or he didn't even say that after tonight going into next week. Does that bother you at all?
I think it kind of just comes back to just like controlling what I can control. There may be times where I disagree with something here and there, but at the end of the day, he's the head coach, and he makes the calls around here, and he's going to put us in the best chance to succeed. And I think that's all that you can really ask for as a player. So I know that going forward, I'm confident in my role of what it is expected of me, and I'm gonna do my job each and every week.
Jaxson, last year with Luke and this year with Spencer, I guess just talk about how that battle between you and Spencer have gone on this year, like the competition aspect of it.
Yeah, he's a great talent. Obviously, he's had a ton of experience and played a lot of games, and also won a lot of games, and has had a lot of individual accolades, which kind of just credit to his ability. I feel like we've made a good relationship, and I've even learned stuff from him, even though he hadn't been in this offense, but just from his experience and stuff like that. So it's good to have somebody pushing you.
Obviously, Trey Harris's big day speaks for itself, but that overshadowing what Jordan Watkins also do, having another 100-yard receiving game, plus what he was able to do on the punt return today. Just kind of describe, the Jordan Watkins that you saw last year versus this year, and what do you feel like because people are going to be expecting as far as taking that next step as an athlete, as a receiver?
Yeah, I would just say for J. Watt, like he's just like such a reliable player that you kind of just always have to have on the field. He's another leader out there, with me. So, him being able to line guys up quick, and when guys aren't even confident what their job is, like he knows it like that. So, he's just having like another coach out there, and makes great plays. And I think it shows to him just how much more comfortable he is in this offense. And it's just fun to see guys succeed.
Do you think you play better when there's a chip on your shoulder, when the door's open on who could be the starting quarterback, or when you're comfortable and you have the job in a way? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to this, during this week. My kind of focus in this year is to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And that's all due respect with everybody in the room, but that's just my mindset and what I want to accomplish this year. And I just want to take those steps in my growth and put myself and this team in the best situation to succeed, and hopefully be holding up a championship by the end of it.
Caden Lee caught a touchdown later in the game. When did you start to see him come on this fall?
Yeah, I would say probably the back half of camp. I kind of referred to like he had a really big play in our first scrimmage on a slot fade and caught it back shoulder and was able to get a foot in. And I just remember seeing that and being like, dang, like this kid could really play and he can play right now. So it's fun to see young guys like that, compete throughout camp and then, just work themselves up through the depth chart. And then when it comes to it in the game, the lights didn't get too bright for him and he played really well.
Kyron Heath, he got his first start, first SEC action. Can you just talk about his play today?
Yeah, I'm super proud of him. Just like his growth from year 1 to year 2. He just took huge steps, and his just physical abilities of grinding throughout the weight room and then getting extra work with just routes and stuff like that. So he's going to be a really good player, and he's just going to continue to develop. So I'm super excited for his future.
When Trey was here, he kind of said once it starts rolling a couple of touchdowns, he starts feeling like he has the hot hand. Do you as a quarterback recognize that and try to feed him as much as you can, or is it more just game plan based?
Yeah, I kind of just feel like that kind of just goes with like the momentum of the game when you see a guy make plays and then he's just hungry for more. So it's fun when you get to have guys like that just bring a whole bunch of excitement around the team. And obviously this was his first game, but to just see his play and how of an elite talent that he is, I'm just super pumped.
And I know maybe a lesser opponent than some of the other teams you're going to play later in the year, but do you feel like this is kind of a glimpse of what this offense could be against any opponent?
Yeah, absolutely. These are definitely conversations that we have in our own room. We kind of just compare things from last year to this year, and I just feel like we're just so much more balanced of a team, and we're able to attack defenses in so many different ways, and we're just super versatile. So, able to move guys around and just have a lot of confidence in them, and I just feel like our depth is in a really good spot right now.
Eris mentioned how he looked up at the scoreboard and didn't even realize how quick everything was going for y'all with that fast start. How did that feel for you when you were seeing that?
I'm probably in the same boat as him. Before I knew, I looked up at the screen and it's been like 5 minutes in the game where you had to score 21 points or something like that. So, it just makes you like have that rush of wanting to get back out on the field and keep doing it over and over again. Those are like those addictive feelings of playing college sports.
A lot of clean pockets today. Offensive line did a nice job for you, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a hell of a job.
Awesome. Thanks, Jaxson. Appreciate it.